This guy will break out against the Jets. You're watching the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. My name is Jace Andrews, and I'm glad you chose to watch us today. But who am I talking about? Could I be talking about a wide receiver from the Chiefs? Could I be talking about a running back from the Chiefs? Let me know who you think I'm talking about before we get today's show started. We're going to reveal it, so get in the comments right now. And again, who is breaking out? You're going to find out in today's show. Appreciate everybody joining us again. We are happy you chose to watch the Chiefs Report today. And let's kind of tell you what you're in for. We're going to take a deep dive into the Jets and look at some early injury news on the Chiefs. Along with, we're going to get the keys to victory for the Chiefs as they take on the New York Jets on Sunday Night Football in MetLife Stadium. Let's start first with this matchup as a whole. And it's going to be on the road. East Rutherford, New Jersey. And the Chiefs come out as 9.5-point favorites with the over-under at 42. I got to be honest, 9.5 is pretty good. I think that that's a nice area to sit at for the Chiefs. And again, it's on the road, 7:20 p.m. kick. This was supposed to be the final time we're going to get to finally see it. We're going to have Mahomes. We're going to have freaking Aaron Rodgers. Nope. I feel bad for the guy. I really wanted to see this matchup. That's why it was scheduled for Sunday night. Instead, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes versus Zack Wilson and a very frustrated New York Jets team, which we will get to in just a moment. But before I do that, and before I tell you about the injuries, whatever, I got to know who you got in this game. Do you got Kansas City? We'll type KC. Do you think the Jets are going to pull the upset? Then I want you to type NYJ. Get in the comments right now. You're probably going to have time to do it, so go in there and put in what you're thinking. Type KC for Kansas City. Type New York Jets. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. All right, let's take a look at the Week 4 opponent as the New York Jets. I mentioned Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles on the 4th play of the season, and Zack Wilson is now the starter as they lost back-to-back weeks over incredible victories. After an incredible victory in Week 1 versus the Bills, frustration was present last week versus the Patriots, though. Again, back-to-back weeks after an incredible victory in Week 1. Then they had the Bills, and back-to-back weeks with losses. And the Bills game was tough, but last week was the one we're going to talk about. Michael Carter was absolutely infuriated with the play calling, and they just aren't happy there. And it's a tough watch because at the same time, you understand, like, all right, they're struggling there. They lost their starting quarterback, but it's just not good. You lose to the Patriots at home. They weren't having a good time, but we'll have to see if that frustration carries over because Garret Wilson was also pretty frustrated. And speaking of Garret Wilson, he starts off our key players. Now, he was a very good asset in last year's draft class, along with Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall. 3 of these guys are all rookies, and the bottom one, second year's Quinnen Williams. Yeah, that guy got paid this offseason big time, which is a big storyline in today's game because, well, it's a big game for Chris Jones. As, guess what? Quinnen Williams, he's now the second highest paid interior defensive lineman. Chris Jones wanted to be that type. He was not that. So, is it time for Chris Jones to come out and show who's boss? He's going to go in, sack Zack Wilson. You got to see. Now, Chris Jones, I will allude to it, he's guaranteed around $20 million. That's why he's at the number 9 slot. He could make up to $25 million with incentives. So, with Chris Jones, he could potentially be in that number 2 slot. I think that's exactly where he'll end up with the way he's playing. But it's a big game for him as, again, it's kind of tough to see. He wants to go out here. He wants to prove why he is the guy that deserves that money. All right, let's kind of go into the Chiefs injury report here. Now, not official, but just kind of injuries we're watching as Richie James with his MCL, he is on the IR. He will not be playing this game. In fact, he won't be playing for the next couple weeks as he will be out with that MCL. Kadarius Toney, he played this past week against the Bears, but at the same time, you have to watch out for kind of what he's going to do. He only had 1 catch this past week. And then Nick Bolton with his ankle. The hope is to have him back this week. Drew Tranquill filled in his role well, but at the same time, we're going to have to kind of see what exactly is going on there. All right, before we dive into the keys to victory for the Chiefs against the Jets, I got to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Prize Picks adds a ton of excitement to the sports viewing experience. Watch your progress update in real time, win up to 25 times your entry amount, and cash out your winnings with quick scoring, settling, and withdrawals. With Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. With Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than, again, on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Now with the Chiefs coming up this weekend, here's what I'm going with. And I'm a more guy, and I'm going to go with more for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, because Travis Kelce, all he has to do is score one touchdown. Score one touchdown. And my entry is automatically there. Patrick Mahomes, I'm going more with that passing yards. I think he's going to do it. It's, again, Sauce Gardner. You got to watch out for him. But the one thing I will say, with the way the Chiefs secondary has been playing with Trent McDuffie, I'm going less with Garrett Wilson and his receiving yards, 52.5. I don't know if he's going to reach 50. I'm going to take the less there. You can either do the same thing as me, you can fade me, see what you want, but either way, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is the super simple way to play, and I made my picks in less than 60 seconds. And now Prize Picks offering Apple Play. It's super easy to get your deposit into your account. Again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first match deposit of up to $100. Shout out to Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Okay, let's go to my keys to victory for the Chiefs versus Jets game. And the first one, it's very obvious, but it's protect Mahomes. You got to protect him. This kind of goes to the injuries we were talking about. And I'm going to say it. This line has been really, really good because Mahomes has been hit 16 times through 3 games, but he's only been sacked once. Oh, and by the way, that sack came from a blitzer. So therefore, the offensive line has not allowed a sack. They're one of 2 teams who has not allowed a sack this year. You want to know the 2 teams? Chiefs, Cowboys. Those are the 2. That's it. And the Chiefs, they've looked really good. But he has been hit a couple times, and that's where the concern comes in, specifically last week when Yannick Ngakoue fell on the far right ankle of Patrick Mahomes. He came up kind of limping on that ankle. It wasn't really a good sight to see, but at the same time, he looked all right, played in the second half for 1 drive, and ultimately came off for Blaine Gabbert after the game was out of hand. But I'll say it again and again and again. You want these stats on the field. 803 yards and 7 touchdowns is not going to happen with just anybody. You need Patrick Mahomes. You got to keep him safe, and that's a key when you have Quinton Williams on the other side trying to go and not take out Patrick Mahomes, but definitely get him on the ground. You don't want to risk any injury there. So come on, offensive line. Protect Mahomes to get this dub. And the second key to victory, it kind of goes along with the offensive line. And let's keep the running game going. Now, this falls more on the backs of Isiah Pacheco, Clyde, Edwards-Helaire, and Jerick McKinnon, but it also is with the offensive line to make sure that they go and protect that hole for the running back. And they looked really good last week. I think I have to say, last week, they were probably the best running back room in the entire AFC West. They had 163 all-purpose yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, both receiving touchdowns, by the way, coming from Jerick McKinnon, the rushing touchdown from Pacheco and CEH. It looked good. It looked good. I liked kind of mixing in everybody, but I'll say it again. Give Pacheco the rock. Give it to him. He is just a hard-nosed running back. He gets extra yardage every single time he gets the ball, and I just want them to keep using him that way. I want to keep him healthy as well, so I understand kind of working him up. He had 8 carries, 12 carries. Now he had 15 carries this past week against the Bears. I would like to see that number by the end of the season be around the 20 mark. I got to be honest. I think he can do it, and I like the way that he adds an extra element to this offense. And on top of which, if you have him at the top, you can always mix in Jerick McKinnon and CEH. They looked pretty good, but does this performance continue? I think I got to ask you that question because you got to know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's a yes, but do you think it will continue? Type Y for yes if you think this running game is going to basically just build and grow off this, or type in for no if you think, nah, this was just the Bears. The Bears stink. We're not going to be always this good against the run with the run game. So type in for no if you think that. Type Y for yes if you think this rushing performance is going to continue. Let's move over to my third key to victory, and that is to not turn the ball over. Now, this is more stemming from the Jets side of things because they're a turnover win team. Turnovers lose games. The one game the Jets won this year, they forced 4 turnovers from Josh Allen. 4. 3 interceptions, a fumble, and ultimately that was the decision of the game. They won in overtime on a punt return kick. And they got the ball 4 times and only won on a punt return. If you just don't turn the ball over, this shouldn't be that hard of a win, to be quite honest. And overall, you keep the ball in your hands, the more times you're going to score. Bing, bada, bop, you get the win in New York. You're out of there. You're 3-1. Now, I mentioned it in the beginning of the show. This guy will break out. Well, who was I talking about? Who was I talking about? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. It's Rashee Rice. You got to give the ball to him. You got to give the ball to Rashee Rice. He has looked incredible, and on top of which, he's leading the Chiefs in a couple of receiving categories. He's leading them in targets. He's leading them in receptions, and it's not on the stat sheet, but he's also leading them in first down conversions as 7. He's got 7 first down conversions. 108 yards and a touchdown for the SMU product. He's looked really good this season. I've liked what I'm seeing. And the big thing, and I think Andy Reid hit the nail on the head, when he grabs the ball, he immediately shoots straight ahead, straight for the end zone. I like it. He's not dilly-dallying. He's not trying to cut. He's just saying, I got the ball. I'm going to put my head down, and I'm going to run through everybody in my way. I like what I've seen from Rashee Rice, and I think it's time for him to have a breakout game, and I think it could definitely be against the Jets because guess what? Sauce Gardner is going to be locking up somebody. It's not going to be Rashee Rice. Give him the ball. Let him see what he can do. My 5th and final key to victory is this D-line needs to get to Zack Wilson because ultimately this defensive front for the Chiefs, they've been in the trenches all year, and they've been winning that trench battle. They have absolutely been incredible. And the 3 guys that have really been the key elements is Chris Jones, of course, George Karlaftis, and Mike Danna. Now, Mike Danna, he was the guy who replaced Chris Jones in Week 1, and he performed really well. He's sitting at 2 sacks, and he got 2.5 from both Jones and Karlaftis. Obviously, 2 tackles for loss and 1 pass breakup across the board for these 3 guys. They have looked, all in all, one of the best defensive lines in the AFC West, one of the best defensive lines in the AFC. I think probably a top 10 defensive line in the entire NFL, maybe even top 5. They've just looked really, really nice. I've liked what I've seen from Karlaftis in his sophomore season. And then Mike Danna, I mean, you can't lie with the stats, man. When he's on the field, he was all over the ball against the Bears. He was all over the ball with the Lions game when Chris Jones was out. I like what I've seen from these 3 guys. I hope they continue it. And if they do, it should be a clear path to victory. Now, with that all being said, what do you think the score will be for this Chiefs versus Jets game? Because I think you can go a lot of different ways. This could be low scoring because, again, the Jets defense is definitely better than their offense, and the Chiefs defense is better than the offense has been so far. Obviously, this past week, it was both sides. They look great. I think I'm going to do a little bit of both here. I'm going to go 31-14 is my prediction. 31-14, Chiefs beat the Jets. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm right? Do you have your own score prediction? Well, let me know. Put your score in the comments. KC 31-14 for me. But get in the comments. Let me know. NYJ for New York Jets and put the score. KC for Kansas City. Put the score. Let me know. I'll be looking, and who knows? Maybe you could be right. We'll see what happens here coming up in this Sunday's matchup. Before you leave us today, make sure you're subscribed to the Chiefs Report as we're going to have a watch party for this upcoming Sunday night football game with the Chiefs and the Jets. And we want you to be a part of it. We want you to be here. We want you to be a part of this family. So subscribe today, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. You're going to get a notification 30 minutes before we go live. And you're going to be right here for us for literally every single moment of the game. Make sure you are subscribed, and peace out.